I've learned pretty much everything I know about mountain biking the good old-fashioned way. See, I didn't ride growing up, nor do I have some amazing innate ability. No, I actually didn't start riding until I was 23, and I started from scratch. Of all the skills I've picked up over the years, learning how to jump in particular has been a very real struggle. It's because of this struggle, though, that the success is so sweet. I still vividly remember that summer night that my friend Josh and I set out to our local BMX track with the sole objective of clearing our first small jumps. These blurry images are proof of our success, and the first ever images of me jumping my bike. This may not seem like much, but to us, this was a massive breakthrough, and that feeling of stoke while flying through the air on my bike has stuck with me. Ever since then, I've steadily worked on my jumping progression. Moving over to flat pedals, teaching myself how to bunny hop properly, and attempting bigger and bigger jumps, yet despite all this, I hadn't had another massive breakthrough like that night at the pump track. Until recently.
Yeah.
This summer, all of my practice and skill building seems to have just clicked, and I've been eyeing up jumps that I previously thought were reserved for professionals, or at least riders that were better than I'd ever be. Today, I stand at what feels like the pinnacle of this progression. I'm at Whistler, the promised land of mountain biking and home to the most famous jump trail in the world, A-Line. I've seen so many videos. I've seen more videos of A-Line than any other trail ever. For those of you not familiar with the A-Line trail, you only really need to know one thing: jumps. Tons and tons of jumps. About 42 total, in fact, and I'm determined to clear every single last one of them. To me, the decision to clear A-Line means attempting the biggest jumps I've ever hit. This is me taking a stand against fear and proving to myself what I'm truly capable of. I'm feeling pretty good about the whole thing too, and the way I see it, I've got a few things really working for me right now. First off, I've got a new bike. That's right, after much debate, I have officially decided to go the 29er route with this Canyon Stride. So the first order of business upon arriving in Whistler is getting this thing dialed. Although new bikes are sweet, it's really less about the bike itself and more about the unfounded confidence a new bike gives us. And if there's one thing I've learned about hitting jumps, it's that confidence is key. Another thing working for me is the fact that I'm attempting these jumps at Whistler Bike Park, which is absolutely different than attempting similar sized jumps at a random trailhead. See, at Whistler, I can be 1000% certain that these jumps are all perfectly sculpted for maximum send. The flow is right, the takeoffs and transitions are perfect, and thanks to this, there's a little bit more room for error, giving me a little bit of cushion for imperfect sends, which I fully expect to have. Finally, I've got my buddy Seth here to tow me in.
What, there's not how you supposed to wear?
But if I'm being perfectly honest, this one could go either way. Anytime Seth and I get together, it seems to create some sort of perfect whirlwind of bikes, friendship, and excitement that can either propel us into Super Saiyan stoke or send us crashing into a blazing oblivion. It's still too early to tell which way we're heading this time, but I'm glad to have him here nonetheless. Not only does Seth know the trail, but he's also one of the most persistent, presumptuous, and pushy people I know when trying to coerce me into sending scary features he knows I'm capable
It's
of.
gonna feel so good, I promise you.
Take yesterday, for example. We were supposed to be warming up and breaking in my new bike on some easy trails. Every single time we stopped, Seth was already strategically planting seeds in my brain to start getting me ready for A-Line.
I mean, we could hit A-Line right there. A-Line right here. Because it's like you either go to A-Line or this, and most of the time you go to A-Line.
I held strong on our first day and refused to ride A-Line, as I know that I do best when starting slow and warming up. So instead, Seth decided to lead me down an alternative route.
You gotta go back to get speed.
Well, this is fade to black.
Yeah. You gotta go back to get speed.
We decided to go for it and send this double black trail in order to warm up for our run on the single black. That makes perfect sense, right? Following that, we headed to the upper part of the mountain so that I could better my brakes.
Dude, my brake is not bedded all the way.
Somehow I made it out of this warm-up day alive, and I was feeling great. So much so that the very next day, we woke up and immediately geared up for our mission. It's time to send A-Line, and failure is not an option.
Like, I know everybody talks up A-Line like it is an amazing trail, but what's going through your head? I mean, you've never ever done it before.
I'm definitely a little nervous. I'm very excited, but...
So what are you nervous about? It's just a single black.
I'm nervous about my excitement, because you get really stoked, and then things start feeling good, and then you do something dumb. And
yeah.
And it's just that one dumb thing. Oftentimes, that shit happens on the jump lines.
But Seth seemed a little bit more certain of my capabilities.
I think you're just going to drop in and clear pretty much everything, to be honest.
Really?
And that was just the boost of confidence I needed. Let's do this.
Man, I'm ready. Dropping in the A-line. Following set. Gonna be ridiculous. Holy! Woo-hoo! Whoa! Yeah!
My first lap down A-line was the thing dreams are made of. I kept thinking about how surreal it felt that I was in Whistler, finally riding a trail that I've seen so many others ride before me. Riding a trail for the first time really is an incredible thing that should be cherished. Every inch of trail is fresh and invigorating, and I was finding it hard to balance the excitement of what was right in front of me with the anticipation of what was to come. And let's not forget about the jumps. Oh, the jumps. One after the other, and another, and another, connected with some of the biggest sweeping berms you've ever seen.
That was easy.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
Well,
to my surprise, I was actually able to clear a lot of the jumps my first run.
Oh my. Yeah.
The second lap was even better. And now that I knew what to expect on the trail, I cleared even more of the jumps.
okay, so how'd you feel that time?
Felt way better. My hands feel so much better. And I'm getting a little bit more confident, you know, hitting. This is second day at a bike park all season. The more jumps you hit, the more you realize you can trust them. So I was just...
By the time we got to the third lap, it was on. The more laps we did, the more comfortable I got, and I really started to figure out the track. At this point, I had cleared about 90% of the jumps on the trail, and the only real thing holding me back was the massive arm pump I was getting. Things were going really well. Too well. And I should have seen the signs coming a mile away, but with both my mind and body fatigued from so many bike park laps, it was already too late.
Whoa, what are you... Oh God! What's the matter with you?
Why did you do that?
I lost the pedal and I looked down to place it again. That was the dumbest thing ever.
Thankfully, it was a harmless crash and only left me looking a little funny back in the village, as I was the only person in the entire bike park with mud on me that very dry and sunny day. It was enough to get my attention though, so we did the smart thing and called it for the day. I was incredibly proud of my first runs on the famous A-line, but I still couldn't help sleep a little uneasy that night, as I knew that the real challenge still lay ahead. Tomorrow, in order to finish clearing A-line, I'm gonna have to send the 2 biggest jumps of my life.
Some people have ridden park their whole lives. They live near Whistler. There's 7-year-olds who do these trails because it's about commitment.
Right.
You don't need to have a lot of experience on a bike in order to clear all this stuff. You have to have commitment. And we ride all sorts of stuff. We climb stuff, we do tech, we do everything.
Yeah.
And jumps are not something we really have access to all the time.
No,
I
didn't hit jumps until like last couple of years.
Yeah, so it's definitely a new thing.
Whew, all right.
It's only a couple of jumps.
Only a couple jumps.
My first objective is actually the very last jump on A-line. A massive, high-speed step up, which I'll be the first to admit is deceptively larger than all the videos on YouTube would have you believe. The GoPro effect strikes yet again. Despite the size of the jump, the part that makes me the most uneasy is that this particular jump is right out in the open at the bottom of the mountain, which means that should things go wrong, everyone waiting in the lift line is gonna bear witness to my fail.
All right, here we go, here we go. Come on. Holy shit. Alright, I can hit that. I hit the brakes though.
After getting a feel for the takeoff, I had the confidence that I was going to be okay though, and began hitting the jump a little faster each time. And sure enough, I got further and further and further until finally I was clearing.
Alright, I cleared it.
By 2 days later, Seth and I were no longer just clearing this jump. We were straight up nuking it halfway down the transition.
Oh, holy.
With the step up out of the way, there's only one jump left standing between me and a successful run down A-line, and it's a big one. In fact, when Seth and I first rolled up to it, I could hardly believe just how truly big it was.
This is the moon booter, I know. Yo, that is humongous.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
I'm not exactly sure where the moon booter got its name from. Whether it's from the absolutely larger-than-life wall of dirt you ride up that sends you straight into the stratosphere, or maybe it's in reference to those blissful moments right after takeoff where you and your bike are effortlessly floating through space, almost as if in orbit. Regardless, this jump is huge. Seth and I did our due diligence in scouting it out, which is an entirely separate sketchy endeavor in itself, as you have to snipe your way onto this sliver of dirt high above the big berm that tends to get crowded with other people doing the same. I was feeling pretty good, and I'll be honest, I started thinking that maybe I could just get towed in by Seth and send this thing first go.
Alright, you ready? Holy shit, it's so big. No. Oh yeah, I can definitely do that though.
Or maybe
I got
not.
sketched out when we got on it. I was like, nope.
The good news is, unlike the step up, the lip on the moon booter felt a lot more mellow to me. The bad news is, I was gonna have to go a lot faster in order to clear this.
Yeah.
Okay, so this time we get to the moon booter, how fast are you gonna go?
As fast as possible. You have to go just as fast as you can.
Okay, perfect.
Right answer.
And how
The following
fast are you
attempts
gonna go?
felt like a scene straight out of Groundhog's Day. Lift,
You got it,
lesson,
man.
fail, repeat. Lift,
How fast
lesson,
are you gonna go?
fail, repeat. Despite having all the right answers to Seth's quizzes,
You got it,
I
man.
just couldn't seem to wrap my head around how
fast
fast
you
I
gonna go?
needed to go. Any faster seemed absolutely ludicrous. Everything else on each run was feeling so good, but every time I got to the moon booter, I just couldn't seem to get it. Maybe I had just reached my limit. Maybe my mock chicken just wasn't fast enough.
Damn.
Or maybe, just maybe the reason I haven't cleared this thing yet actually has nothing to do with how fast I'm going or how much I'm preloading, and everything to do with me simply and honestly believing that I'm capable of hitting a jump this size. What would happen if I fully believed in myself? What would happen if I completely committed? I had to know.
Yeah! Yeah! Woo-hoo! I had to go so much faster. That was the key. No wonder you kept saying that. Oh, yeah!
Now that I can officially clear this thing all the way through, it's time for me to partake in one of the oldest and dearest traditions at the bike park. It's time for some party laps on A-Line.
Yahoo! Let's do it!
When I think back on this day, I believe that this was a very pivotal moment for me. And not just because A-Line either. Today's the day that my mental game finally caught up with all the skills I've been building, and I became whole. My skills, my confidence, my equipment, from this moment on, we were working in harmony. And it wasn't long before we went on the hunt for even bigger, badder features. But that's a story for another time.
Yeah, dude! So solid.
That one jump really hard. I don't know why I got bucked.
Yo, we were